So when Tammy and I began to think about this event and this day a few months ago, we imagined a small gathering of maybe 30 people, marking the anniversary of Zack's accident 6 years ago, followed by a barbecue at our house with a few of our friends. And then Will York came into the picture, and I'll turn it over to Tammy to say.
Where is she? So I want to give a hand to Will for throwing his hand. So I'm going to be the first person, but then people are just going to jump up and keep going. So I just wanted to say that to me, you totally inspire me in your walk with God and your love for people, so your love for God and people. From a really young age, you just really got the love of God. You understood it. And to me, the love of God so fills you that it just overflows into people. And so I'm always inspired. Like, you make me want to pray more. You make me want to love people more. You make me want to listen better. Just a comment, Meg shared it in the other venue that we were just in. Do you remember when we were sitting looking at the stars at night, and I said, "Hey Zach, what are you thinking about?" And you said, "My beautiful Father in heaven." And so your walk with him it was strong before the injury, it's strong after. You're just an inspiration to me, persevering through hard times. Thanks, Zach. Love you.
We had the privilege of watching Zack grow from a very young age to who he is now. And I just say, for my boy, Zack, when I think of who I want them to become, and particularly since I saw you grow from that age, it's easy for me to describe you to them. Only one of them got your name, but I talk about you. We talk about you often, and so thank you for all the ways you've been a role model and continue to be to this day.
Zack, ever since I met you, it was around the same time Gracie and Brianna met you, and we've all been convinced that we would marry you our entire lives. And we used to fight over you every day. Truly. So mine's pretty similar to John's is when I think about what I want in a husband, and just what I see as the most godly characteristics and who I would.
Zack's always had this inherent ability to just always know what the right and true good thing to do in a given situation was. I've always cherished his guidance and spending time with him. And I doubt I'll meet many more people like you in my lifetime. I remember at a ceremony for one of our classmates, he and Tammy were sitting right in front of me and my mom. And midway through this nice ceremony, Zack put his arm around his mom, and it was just a really sweet moment, and me trying to be more like Zack always, because who wouldn't want to be more like him. Put my arm around my mom, and it was a really nice moment. My mom later said that was the highlight of her week, so I love you, buddy, and I'm so glad to be able to share this birthday with you, so thank you.
This morning and this afternoon's exercise dealt with mourning, but the message that I felt the need to convey today to McLeod and to Zack as well, that I hope gives you comfort in those times that we spoke about earlier today, is that Zack remains just as much, if not more, of an inspiration to everyone around him as he did before his injury. So, for me personally, when I was experiencing some of those emotions that Chelsea mentioned, anger and doubt, resentfulness, what helped me to move on was Zack, ironically. To see the way that he approached his battle and the way he struggled through it with the same unrelenting, unapologetic devotion to faith that he had always had, it created an awareness in me at a young age that can't be taught by anyone who's not as special as Zack. It created an appreciation for things that I had never been appreciative for, and I've carried that with me since that time. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I hope, here's to many years looking forward. I know you'll remain one of my best friends. You're an inspiration.
There are some very specific things that I'm grateful for learning from him that I wanted to share with you guys. And actually, when I learned these, And I think we're far enough removed from freshman year that I can admit that we may or may not have hung out on our solo at bivouac when we weren't supposed to. But I learned. But he taught me how to make a snapping noise with my chin and my 3 fingers. He taught me how to hoot like an owl with my hands. And those are skills that I still have today, so thank you.
And I was thinking about this instance where Zack and my son, I can't remember who was, but wait, remember when the police came to the Wilson house? Because something that the boys did? Yeah, I was thinking about that. You know?
When Zack did that, jumped on that dude's back, and the police traced it back to our house, it was actually the next day that the police, a detective knocked on our door, and they came to the side of the Wilson house, and I was walking down a red spiral staircase. It was like halfway down the stairs. The guy knocked on the door and he said, and someone who lived in their house at the moment opened the door, and he goes, "Excuse me, is there a tall, young, blonde teenager who lives here?" And I froze. And I was like, oh my God, I know. So I just sprinted upstairs and let my dad and Rebecca deal with it. So as great of a person as Zack is, he had his rebel phase, just did we all. My favorite thing about Zack is definitely his chins. And his belly buttons. He has multiple belly buttons now because all the tubes that were in here. So whenever we snuggle, I'll wake up on like a Saturday morning, and it's my favorite thing when there's like the doors right here, and I'll see Zack just like poke his head around and then snap back again. And I like clearly saw him, but then he'll poke out of the back and snap back, and then like rhino charge into the room in just a diaper, and comes and tackles me, and we snuggle for about an hour. And those moments I cherish very much. So I just want to say I love you and never lose weight.
On a more serious note, we also appreciate his fiercely loyal friendship. Brian shared a story before of him being, excuse me, him being there for him, but we all have stories like that. Anytime we needed anything, Zack was there for us with one of his classic messages like Brian shared.
Sorry, this is your handwriting. And how he always said he never got girls, even though he's the biggest ladies' man we ever met.
Word for word.
Yeah.
For word.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a really sweet memory of him being the most gentle of gentlemen at the Sylvestri's wedding when he danced with my daughter Mallory. Thank you for dancing with Mallory.
My name's Kevin, and I'm Mo's husband and Mallory's dad, probably better known for that. But I think one thing that I love about Zack, among the many, is he just makes you feel like $1 million when you're around him. He just makes you feel so special and loved. And I'm going back to the 2007 summer project in South Africa, and you know, just seeing Mike and Liza there and here today, and several others from the project. What an awesome summer that was, and Brian and Peter were there with us, and how they grew, and the role that Zack had in their growth during that summer. And one of the ways that Zack made me feel like $1 million back then was that he was one of the first people to call me Dr. K. And it seems like everybody calls me Dr. K now. So thanks, Zack, for that nickname. But then a funny story, speaking of all this, well, nudity stuff again. We were tooling down this dirt road in South Africa, and I was driving those little VW Rabbit, And Chelsea was in the front seat, and Brian and Zack were in the back, and they had to go to the bathroom in the worst way. I mean, and there was just nowhere to go. I hope it's okay to tell us, but but they had this 3-liter empty bottle of Coke or something, and so that's where they went, in the back seat. And Chelsea was, I am so disgusted. I can't believe you guys are doing this. But anyway, but you accomplished it, Zack, and thanks for thanks for making us all feel like $1 million.
And he came over to our house, came into our apartment. Aaron alluded to this earlier today. And he walked straight over to me and looked me in the eye and shook my hand. And I was floored. I thought, where does a 15-year-old boy get that kind of confidence? To walk over to me, look me in the eye, and shake my hand. I was totally blown away. And I still love him. And I don't know all the impact Zack's accident has had on the band of brothers, but I know it's had a profound one. And one of the profound impacts you've had on me, Zack, is the same story that we heard from Mo, that the stories about you kneeling by your bed and praying. And that's an inspiration to me, and I hope I can follow your model.
My name is Mike, and I had the privilege of, over the course of 10 years or so, getting to know the McLeod, then kids, but in a very specific, narrow context. I used to coach youth hockey in the Cambridge youth hockey program. And so what I realized, not just today, but it's been reaffirmed, is that I continue to learn from Zack. We talked once before, I talked with Tammy and Pat about the fact that one memory of Zack from those days was how he was, of course, a gifted athlete, and he had this will to compete, a will to win. But the thing that I really remembered was that when one team went up on another by too much, it was an introductory program, we didn't want anyone to get discouraged. Just not even have to say anything, Zack, just give a look. And it'd tamp it down, and it'd include all the smaller, younger, perhaps less gifted kids on his team. And I realized that that was just a microcosm of who you are, or one of your many, many wonderful qualities. And that's a gift you still have, your will and your gentleness and your spirit of inclusion. And I thank you for that.
And then at night we would sit in the hot tub, and I remember Zack had this thing where like we'd be sitting there and he'd be like, "These are pipes, these are guns," and I think about that all the time, which is still weird. But so we were having a great time on this trip, and then we decided we were going to go down to the beach, and my parents took us down to this beach we hadn't been to. It was kind of this like hidden gem of a beach, kind of, but not really, because we got into the water and we started like playing around. My parents were just hanging out and watching us, and we were having a good time. And we were kind of playing that game where like you let the water go over you and you kind of be like laying down. And then we started to go a little bit deeper. We went a little bit deeper, and then all of a sudden I turned to Zack and I'm like, we're like pretty far out right now. And we realized we had gotten like 40, 50 feet, like way, way from the shore, and we'd also drifted to the right. And all of a sudden my parents are like, you guys gotta swim back in. And so we start swimming, and we realize like we're really, really getting pulled out, and it's like we're on like a water treadmill, like we're not going anywhere. And so we swim a little bit harder, we gain a little bit of ground, but then it kind of pushes us back. And at this point, like fight or flight is kicking in, and I'm like, we might die, which we almost might have died. And we're swimming, 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 and I remember like that fear that I had, and then like having Zack beside me while I was like in total exertion, just helping inspire me, motivate me, and I just felt like I was scared, but I felt grounded. And Zack has this energy when you're around him where you just feel like worst case scenario, like stuff is still good. So we made it in, and we had drifted way, way like to another beach almost. My parents were freaking out, but I'm glad you were there. I'm glad you still hold us all down today, so thank you.
The summer before freshman year, when Zack and I were hanging out, and you know, high school guys in the summer, no structure is a recipe for trouble. And so we were at Zach's house, and Zach had the great idea that we should get the guitar amps and our electric guitars